think I have to start my remarks by giving Drake credit where credit's due. I think they came out and did a great job of executing their game plan on both their offense and their defense. Physically, they beat us. They beat us up. Now, it's encouraging the difference in physicality if you compare this game against Drake to where we were a year ago as a program. It's almost night and day. We hung in there for most of the games, and I'm proud of our players for not quitting. And we had a lot of guys who physically were getting beat up, and they hung in there and they fought for 60 minutes, which I think is a very positive sign. We are much more physical this year than we were a year ago, but we're still not where we need to be yet. A lot of that I'll attribute to, a year ago we were going up against these guys with freshmen and sophomores. This year it was sophomores and juniors. Drake's program, if you look at them, they've done a great job. It's an established program. They've got redshirt seniors and seniors at nearly every position, certainly on the front seven for both sides of the ball. And they just reload year in and year out because the program is established. We will get to that point, but we are not there yet. So they did a great job, and I think that goes to show. You look at the next thing, in addition to winning the line of scrimmage on both sides, you look to those critical down and distances. 13 of 16 for Drake. They were, I believe, they were 8 for 8 or 9 for 9 to start off the game. It's really hard to win a football game if you can't win the critical downs and distances. I give credit for our offense for hanging in there and doing an outstanding job on fourth down. I give credit to Jimmy Seawald for coming in as a freshman when Ryan injured his ankle and stepping up and leading us on a great drive and making several big plays, a couple of nice drives. But he's also a freshman, and unfortunately that showed in a couple of situations. We felt like, despite the fact that we'd done such a poor job on third down on defense, and despite the fact that physically we were being beaten most of the game and not being able to run the football on offense and not being able to stop the run on defense, we were in that game because we created turnovers, particularly Joey's interception, obviously a huge spark, but getting turnovers to keep us in that ball game and being smart enough on offense to, if we weren't going to be driving the length of the field, at least we didn't give them. We made Drake earn it, and they certainly earned it. They ran an awful lot of plays on offense, and you can do that when you're 13 to 16 on third down. So really felt like, despite that, we were in there. We had a point where it's 21 to 28. We're down by 7. We've got a 3rd and 2, and we run a play action. We've got 2 wide open tight ends for pick either one in their touchdowns. And unfortunately, Jimmy made a bad throw, and instead of us sending out the field goal extra point unit to tie the game at 28, we had to go to fourth down, and unfortunately that was our first and only fourth down in the game that we didn't convert. And then to follow it up with Jimmy's interception in the following drive, given another opportunity to go down the field and score to tie the game, having the interception was a poor decision on his part. And I've said it before, hopefully I don't have to say it too much more, because we have fewer and fewer freshmen that we have to call on to make plays. But that's sometimes what freshmen do to you. They make great plays. You see the potential that they have, the ability of Jimmy to go out and execute most of the game plan most of the time out there today was just offset by just freshman mistakes, lack of experience, just lack of confidence, and that's unfortunately what comes with being a freshman. It's just uneven play. Like I said, proud of our team for not giving up, proud of the way that they fought, disappointed that we just, as I told them at the end of the game, did not win enough of those one-on-one matchups. We had an opportunity to tackle in the open field, safety versus their running back, and we failed. We had an opportunity to make a nice catch in the end zone, to score a touchdown. We had several of those, and we failed. And my expectations and the talent of our football team is reaching the point where we're expecting to be successful in those situations. and we weren't, plain and simple.
What's Clark's status?
Yeah, he injured his ankle. Tried to play with it a little bit, but on his last scramble, he was very honest. We felt like he could have scrambled and run with it, and he made a throw that was high and incomplete on his last play, and he just came off the field. He's a great competitor. I know he wanted it badly, but he's just like, Coach, I can't do it. I couldn't run for that first down. The ankle wouldn't allow me to push off, and so we made the decision to put Jimmy in the game. And it's an ankle sprain. It's not anything that's going to hopefully keep him out for an extended period of time. What his situation will be for this Saturday against Stetson will just predicate on how much it swells up and how bad that sprain is.
Drake seemed to get much more conservative offensively in the second half, and you couldn't stop.
Yeah, I think it comes down to that. When you have the lead, you want to shorten the football game, and when you can, rush for 239 yards on 49 carries, why not? It was the smart thing on their part. They have a very talented quarterback, but he was throwing the ball up for grabs, and we had forced some turnovers that way. We could have had maybe one or two more had we just come up with the catches in the secondary. So I think it was a great answer. I think it was, again, hats off to their offensive coordinator and saying, hey, the run game is working, it's being successful, and let's run clock and shorten the game, and they absolutely did that.
Getting down 2 touchdowns that early, how badly did that hurt you?
Well, it was frustrating. Like I said, I know our defense is better than that. Despite the fact that we weren't doing a great job up front winning the line of scrimmage, we're a better football team. Our expectations are that we can come up with those stops, and we failed to do so. It was, not a good game out of our defense. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Now, we stepped up and we didn't quit. Like I said, I'm proud of the effort that our guys gave, but we put ourselves in a hole that was very difficult, but we almost dug ourselves out of it.
Did you feel like there was some carryover from that heartbreaking loss the previous week?
No, I actually think that really inspired the team. I thought that, I think where our growth as a football team is dictated upon is to look at how we reacted at the end of the Morehead State game, where you had a lot of guys who were angry and frustrated and knew that we had the opportunity to win that football game. A year ago, something like that happens, and one of the things it's natural when you have young players that play on the field, they're just happy to be there. They're just excited to be playing Division I college football. And so it's a little bit, okay, yeah, we lost the game, but hey, I played, I got in on a couple of tackles, or I made a catch, so you feel good about yourself. We don't have that as much. Like I said, we're still young. We have a lot more guys who have been there before and are past that in terms of their personal growth. It's like, hey, look, we had a shot to win this game, and let's find a way to fix it and come out and get better as a football team.
Coach, if we were to take aside comparing this team with past teams, and aside from focusing on what to expect in the future, if we just focus on the last 2 losses, one that should have, could have, would have with Morehead State, and how you were able to compete with Drake. These last 2 losses, what are the missing components to how this team should have came out with big-time wins against the Eagles and the Bulldogs?
Yeah, again, I don't want to take anything away from either of those teams. Morehead State is very talented. I think they were picked 3rd in the preseason poll. Drake is big and physical, and that's the one area that is why we are not winning these games. You can start on the line of scrimmage. We had a little bit better success running the football against Morehead State than we did against Drake, but one of the reasons why we didn't run the ball as often against Drake as we did against Morehead was we were behind and we weren't getting many opportunities. So when you have that few possessions in a ball game to take the field and make something of it, it puts more pressure on you to score. So we weren't able to ease into our game plan as much, but there's no doubt that it starts the physicality, that aspect, and we're closing that gap, but we're not there. The second thing ties into what I said. It comes down to making plays. When you have an opportunity to make a throw, you have to make that throw. We didn't do that enough against Morehead State. When you have an opportunity to make a catch in the end zone for a touchdown, you got to make that catch. And those types of situations We are having more success with each passing game in I think finding guys who are capable of making those plays individually. But you know, when you're putting those guys who are the guys that you're counting on to win those one-on-one matchups, to make those tackles, to cover that receiver, when you don't win those battles, that's the bottom line. You know, you can look at a football game very easily in those two aspects: who controls the line of scrimmage and who goes up and makes those plays in the open field, one-on-one, in the run game or the pass game. And we've come up short in both of those games, and that's why we've lost both of them.
You guys went 5 of 6 for 4th downs. What made you guys think, let's do it, let's go for 4, or around 4th, 6 times in a game?
Well, the situation that we were put into, we felt like we had a really good game plan. We were getting more confidence in how we were converting 3rd downs and 4th downs, like we did against Trinity International, and like we did to a certain degree against Morehead State. So when you have confidence in your offense to be efficient on those 4th and mediums, 4th and shorts, that really opens up. And again, a lot of it comes down to we really felt like we had to with the lack of ability to stop their offense, and knowing that, hey, if our offense doesn't get this 4th down, we may not be on the sideline for another 6 minutes while they drive the football. So it's a combination of those two, having a lot of confidence in the offense, in the play calls that we have, in the game plan, and going out there. You know, we were 5 for 5 at the one point. We feel like we should have been 6 for 6. It was just a poor decision on Jimmy to pull the football on that particular play. But you know, we both had confidence in doing it, but we also felt pressure that we needed to, because our lack of ability to stop their run game. We needed to keep our offense out on the field and keep those drives going.
And did you think going on 4th down caught Drake off guard?
No, you know, like I said, 2 years ago, I think we went for it on 4th down more than any other team in the nation. We're not afraid to do that. I'd been a little bit more conservative this year, going up against these scholarship schools. We were playing a lot of young players, and so we hadn't quite gelled offensively. But this is who we are. You know, we're not afraid to, in those particular situations, the down and distances and where the ball was on the field. That's our philosophy. We've got no fear. Our defense is behind us 100%. They want to see us go for it, and we've had enough success that you know, we feel it's particularly demoralizing for an opponent when their defense is just stuck out there on the field. So we'll continue to do that.
Joey, first pick 6 for you. What were the preceding events and how you read that pass?
Well, Coach Moore, he likes to preach like vision the plays, envision what you're going to do on the field, and go out there and make it. And it was a man-to-man coverage, and I told myself, if this guy stops right in front of me, I'm going to take this ball and I'm run for a touchdown. And it happened, and I envisioned it and put points up for the team, and it helped.
How were you guys able to game plan against Wilkins, despite the fact that he had an impressive day? The run game was temporarily shut down for a little bit. How did the front 7 do for you guys today?
They did what they had to do. They played hard, they played fast, and that's something we prove every day in practice, on the sidelines after every series. And we just, they just helped us out by just, you know, getting back there to the quarterback.
Frank, Drake was last in the PFL in defensive, or in passing defense and defensive passing efficiency, as well as total defense. How are you guys approaching the Bulldogs throughout practice this week in game planning certain routes against their back 7, given the statistics?
Well, we knew that going in, there was going to be a lot of plays made, and that can be made. We have very talented receivers, very talented quarterbacks, and honestly very talented offensive line. And I think that was the big thing going in. We took that approach, and we saw the plays that needed to be made, and sometimes we made them and sometimes we didn't, like Coach said. So that was basically our big approach, is to take our shots when we can, and when not, we just need to wear down the defense.
Frank, when Ryan got hurt and Jimmy came in and he hit a couple of big passes right away, did that give you guys kind of a lift?
Yeah, most definitely. When a quarterback comes in, especially for a freshman quarterback for the starter, it's a big lift to see the confidence that he had, and I hope it continues to grow because he's a very talented quarterback. And building the relationship with now the receivers. Hopefully Ryan's okay, but if not, then receivers got to build a good relationship with him, and then move from there.
Dylan, it hasn't been, BU football history's been kind of, on the struggling side, not much to really, toot your horn about. This is a young team, when you see the way these guys play, you see the potential. As a freshman, do you kind of feel that maybe you're kind of close to turning the corner?
Oh yeah,
the program here?
definitely. I can see just the way in practice, the way that everybody approaches it, and the way that we approach game planning, that there's a lot of potential here, and we're really close, that's for sure. There's just a few things that I believe that needs to click before we get there, but we're definitely really close, and the entire freshman class can feel that. I know that we've talked about it before as freshmen, that we can sense that we're really close to something special.
Coach, 2 long road games coming up in Stetson and San Diego. How's practice going to change, whether it be slightly or radically, in preparing the mental game for long trips?
Yeah, well, this is life in the PFL. You play games all over the country, so it's certainly not something that our players stress. I think most of them really enjoy it. They know coming here they're going to get a chance to travel all around the United States to play football games, and you don't really change the way you practice aside from knowing your opponent and the particular game plan that you might have. So we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll meet as a staff tomorrow, see how we are, get our injury reports, see how our players fared and who's going to be available for the game this Saturday, and then start taking a look, take it one game at a time, one practice at a time, and just do everything we can on focusing our players to do everything they possibly can to continue to learn from your failures as well as your successes, and find ways to get better as an offense, as a defense, special teams, just as a football team as a whole. You keep plugging away, and if we can get enough guys focused like that and giving that type of effort throughout the week in practice, we'll be a better football team on this coming Saturday than we were today. Stetson was probably the low point of our season a year ago. We played a team which had some talent, but certainly physically was not at the same level a year ago as a team like Drake was, and we got beat pretty bad. We got beat up, and we did not execute very well on either side of the football. So that one, we'll have to go. We'll take a look at see where Stetson is. Obviously, this is a program that has been improving. Their win against a good Ivy League program today showcases how far that they've come. They're about a year ahead in their rebuilding project, I think, than we are. So they got some very talented players. But we'll put together a game plan. We'll come out and have hopefully a great week of practice and have a fun trip down to Florida and hopefully come back with a big victory.
Last question from my end, please. Little injury scare with Connor Reddick. Tell us about the adversity that not only did Reddick show, but also the leadership that the seniors have showcased, especially a small number.
He's a tough kid. I mean, we have a very small group of seniors this year, and that hurts from a leadership standpoint, from an experience standpoint. But the guys that are stepping up, they're making plays for us out on the field. They're helping out in practice. They're doing their best to motivate and to teach and learn from their experience. And on offense, that really boils down to Reddick and Brian Lang. Brian's a captain who has really stepped up and played well, but I can't think of a better example of just a great blue-collar work ethic than Connor. Connor goes out there, he's undersized, he just scraps and fights, and he's tough, and he knows his plays, and he's going to give you everything he can on every down, and just to see him get hurt and be able to fight through it, and that's, I was the least surprised guy in the stadium when to see him get back out there and say, let me go again, and that's just the type of player that he is, so it's fun to see him go out there, and he's worked hard, he's earned his shot. He's played an awful lot of football for us the last couple of years, and he's got that type of mentality that we try to preach to all of our football team.
Frank, what kind of mental adjustments do you make as a player when you switch quarterbacks in the middle of a game? There's different cadence and so forth.
Probably the biggest thing would be how the ball is thrown or how he approaches the huddle, and also, like you said, the cadence. It's just everybody needs to adapt to what he does and how he throws or how he gets the ball out, because his confidence going into the game like this, just being thrown in there, is big. And as an offense that has been going through some struggles, getting that confidence, and he showed that he has some confidence. And we just got to continue to make plays for him, and also just to have this offense continue to grow.
Drake put up 6 times as many penalties as you guys did, so congrats on that. And how do you think those penalties help set you guys up for the plays that you guys made?
Well, it's a factor, and we preach being a disciplined football team. That's one of the things that, as a program philosophy, we feel like we can control, that we're smart enough to play aggressive football without being timid and not make mistakes. We still did make mistakes. I wasn't happy with a couple of the calls against our guys. Not saying that from a referee standpoint, but making some poor decisions. But we look for every edge that we possibly can. Turnovers is a big thing that we preach about, winning the penalty game, and all of those things. It has nothing to do with how big, how strong, how fast you are. So we feel like we can gain an edge when we go out, and it certainly helped us today. It erased a turnover off the board for us, so it helped make the game closer. It unfortunately didn't decide the football game, but it did help us gain an advantage.